to Drinks with MJ. I am joined by the gorgeous, the stunning Inbaal. Hello.
Hi, MJ. I'm so excited to be here.
I am so excited to have you on. We've had a bit of a love affair, haven't we, online for a couple of months, and now we're meeting.
I know. I think all positive people kind of see a kindred in each other because, no offense to everyone watching, I'm sure you're super positive if you're on MJ channel in the first place, but the majority of people were raised in that kind of downer environment where you don't show off about your achievements and you don't root for other people's achievements and you're embarrassed to admit your goals. And when I'm sort of quite a motivated person, I've always been very upbeat, very exuberant. So when I meet somebody who is also of the same tribe, it's so mind-blowing. And obviously we're both regulars on the same BAFTA-nominated TV show. And for me, all the people sitting in that corner are my soul tribe because it's all like really upbeat people, always kind of rooting for each other, always celebrating each other's achievements. And I am so here for it.
And I am so here for everything you've just said. Do you know what that means? That means a cheers. So, of course, it wouldn't be Drinks with MJ Honey without Drinks with MJ. I am drinking Gordon's Dry Gin with a slimline tonic, and I'm going to pour it. I had to actually open this before because my nails were on, and that would have been like a whole different scenario. So, Inbaal, cheers, my love. I am so excited.
Cheers to Drinks. Definitely not sponsored by Coca-Cola, but the vanilla flavor is great for later on in the day. And I'm actually doubled up with my witchy mug for a hot drink as well, because you can never have too many fluids. I'm such a lover of fluids.
Oh, cheers to that all day long. Yes. Welcome to Drinks with MJ. Good to have you here.
Welcome, everyone.
Your name is beautiful. Where did your name originate from?
Right, so that's actually quite interesting because I'm Israeli. And it's kind of a common Israeli name. But when I was born in the 70s, there would be the names that European Israelis would go for. And it would be like Dana and Tali and very soft names. And there would be the names that Eastern Israelis would go for. So that would be people that originated from Egypt or Morocco. And they'd have sort of more powerful names like Inbaal. And so my mother kind of crossed that barrier, refused to name me after her own mother who passed, which would have been the tradition. She was a big breaker of traditions and not only picked a different name for me, but picked a name from the other side of the barrier, which I'm very, very proud of. So it's not only Middle Eastern, but the first consonant in it when you pronounce it properly is that you get in the Middle East. So it's Inbaal. Even I don't pronounce it like that. I don't think my husband would be able to if he wanted to. But when you spell it in Hebrew, you can tell that it's Eastern, much in the same way that, you know, when you meet somebody called MJ, you can kind of assume a little bit about her background. And if you were doing the interview with, you know, with somebody called Fatima, you'd be like, oh, you know, maybe you're from someplace else. It was kind of the same. So I've always been very proud that there was this kind of bringing together of opposites and the unity in it.
That is so cool. Like,
Thank
what a
you.
story to tell people. That is amazing. I love that. I love a message behind a name. I think it's beautiful. And it's just, it gives you some like motivation in a way. It's like, this is where I'm from. This is my roots. Let's go for it, baby.
Exactly. And it's so much more important to me with that. I don't live within my mother tongue. I don't live in the views that I'm used to. Certainly not in the weather that I was used to. But I'll tell you something interesting. When I was growing up, it was a bit of a mouthful. And I thought, wouldn't it have been easier if I had something simple in name, like, you know, Billy or something more ordinary? And I had a dream once that I was sliding down a snowy slope and that I couldn't get to people. And I sent it into a magazine to have a dream interpretation. And I said, my name is Inbaal, and the meaning of Inbaal is inside a bell, you know, the string and the ball inside the bell. That's the meaning of it. Can you please just give me an assumed name when you interpret the dream? I was very naive. I could have just said, you know, my name is Jessica and sent it like that. But no, I was very honest. I'm still that naive. I'm still exactly the same person I was when I was 11. I sent it in. And the chap that did the dream interpretation said that it was that the meaning of the dream was that I want to feel closer to people, but there's something in me that blocks me. So I feel lonely on the snowy mountain. And he said, the girl asked me to change her name Inbal for publication. And I didn't, because within the bell, the string and the ball is useless by itself. It only makes beautiful music when it touches all the people around it. And that was a real turning point for me. And that was why when I came to England, I did not make it easier for anybody. That was when I knew that the name was really right for me, because there is an element to my personality that might be a little bit shy. It's very well hidden. But I know that I am my best when I'm face to face with people. Lockdown was hard.
Oh my God, I can imagine, literally.
It must have been the same for you.
That is, I love that story. That is so inspiring. Like the way you've actually researched into your name. That is really, really nice. I might have to do it for MJ. Although when I do it for MJ, most people sing a song or do a moonwalk. So
It never occurred to me, because obviously you spell it completely differently.
yeah.
But you'd institutionalize your name by default so that it's exactly the way you spell it, haven't you? I think that's such
absolutely.
a powerful thing to do.
Thank you very much.
It's asserting your independence to be exactly who you are with no apologies, on your terms.
Yes.
And again, we're not comparing anyone to anyone, but I think the majority of people would stop to think, what would such and such think about it? And what would this and that person think about it? And when I come to register for a wedding, will they question if it's really my name?
Who cares,
maybe they
darling?
will. Maybe they will. So I think confident people, it's not that we don't worry what the repercussions will be. We do worry, but we still push through with what we know is right for us. We don't let the apprehension hold us back from living life on our own terms.
I say, like, being authentically yourself. You can't
100%.
go wrong. You cannot go wrong. Your life is so fascinating. You are a psychic. You are a tarot reader. You are a coach. You do it all. How did you get into all this, Inbaal?
Do you know, for me, it's kind of all the same thing, because I was raised not really believing in anything spiritual and anything mystical. So when I first picked up a deck of tarot cards and realized I could read them, on the one hand, it was this, whoa, like big realization. But on the other hand, it was as if I've always done it. And I'm almost completely self-taught. So I taught myself how to read the tarot by practicing on everybody all the time. If you'd known me like 30 years ago, how old am I? 27 years ago. If you'd known me 27 years ago, I would not have let you get up off the table before I practiced on you a little bit. And when you're fully self-taught, that's the most authentic that you can be, because you develop your own style of reading, and all of your kind of interactions with the tarot and understanding of the different tarot cards is rooted in experiences that you kind of vicariously lived with other people. So whatever I do, and I actually support people with like star sign weight loss, and I coach people with their own spiritual business. Of all the things I do, astrology, I used to write the stars for Elle magazine. That was a moment.
Incredible.
So of all the things I do, when anybody says to me, so what's your passion? Tarot. There's no need to even question it. I adore the tarot. It's very colorful. You get to hold something in your hands. You get to shuffle. You've got the drama of putting the cards face down and then checking what's on the other side. And the tarot is also very connected to maths. And I'm sorry, but maths are like the coolest thing ever. Astrology, it's got the different elements in it. It's got all the archetypes from Jungian psychology. And for me, the tarot is such an effective tool of connecting people and meeting them where they are.
Yeah.
So
how did you
if
get
I
into
do,
this then?
I lived in Greece, which is really where all the best stories start, isn't it? Yes, I lived in Greece.
Yeah, absolutely.
How did you get to Greece? I don't know. I wanted to move somewhere far away. I didn't really have a lot of money. My money took me as far as Greece, and that was all right. I lived in Greece, and the lady that I worked with in a shop job, I love shop work. So the lady I worked in the shop with, she would do like a proper afternoon break for the two of us, and she had a little coffee machine and a deck of cards. And the first time we did like make a coffee together, so she made a nice coffee for me and a nice coffee for her, and said, let's shuffle the cards and see what the night has in store for us, like it was normal. Because in Greece, everyone reads something. So if you don't read the tarot cards, you'll read playing cards. If you don't read playing cards, you'll read palms or the coffee grounds. There's always something that you read. It's really like a past, the culture. Everyone's a little bit superstitious. I'm not really superstitious, but if a black cat goes, you spit the other way. And if thoughts feel yeah, all of those. I'm so in love with superstition. No, I think you can't go wrong with a bit of superstition. You don't let it control you, but it's just a fun thing to remember, because in a way superstitions remind you to be thankful for what you have and to keep an eye, that stuff doesn't go wrong. So I started reading tarot with her every afternoon, and after maybe 2-3 weeks of that, there was one day that she said, I make a coffee for us, but I'm not really in the mood to do the cards. I'm a little tired. And I was like, oh, I'll do them, because I can make coffee. I'll bet you I could read the tarot if I tried. And I kind of turned cards over. I thought maybe everybody could, because my upbringing was so distant from it. I didn't really know the ins and outs and the ethics of it. So I thought, why not? Give it a bash.
When in Rome.
And if I think back now, she did look at me a bit funny, but she didn't say, oh, you can't do it or anything. She's one of our tribe, very positive person, always excited. Any woman she looks at thinks is beautiful. Any change in life, she thinks, oh, that was for the best. So I read a little bit, and then we would read for each other. And at the end of the summer, I had a flight to London, and why did I go to London and then to Israel? I think it was somehow cheaper. I don't know. Flights are very funny like that. So I had something like 2 hours in London. So I got off the plane, took the tube to central London, went to Watkins Books, not sponsored, not sponsored by them. But at the time, we're talking 1995, there were not very many esoteric and occult shops. There were like 2 in London and very few in the rest of the country. So I popped in and basically just took the same style of deck as what I used to read with her, only that her captions were all in German and my captions were all in English. And then I went to Israel and just practiced and practiced and practiced, came back to London, practiced, took the cards with me the next summer to Greece, practice. That was 1995. I did my very first paid readings, either 97 or 98. I charged £6 a reading, and it was in the Notting Hill Carnival. So it was a massive Caribbean carnival that's famous the world over. And I had me a little table there in the Notting Hill Carnival. And then for about 2 years, I would do readings for friends, for donations, kept practicing. And on the first of the first 2000, I hung up all my other jobs and just thought, let's give this a bash.
Yes.
And it so far worked out all right.
That is incredible. Wow.
Thank you.
So do you think you're welcome? Cheers. I think we need to cheers to that, don't we? Cheers, man.
Thank you. Cheers, MJ.
Cheers, everybody, as well. Cheers, absolutely. Do you think then that was the primary pinnacle moment of your life, spending that time with that lady in that shop? Do you think that was the moment that made you do what you do today? Or do you think you would have
been so many moments, because I truly believe in miracles. I really do. And I always say my affirmations, and I ask for specific things, for a date by which I want stuff, for a specific cash amount that I need, for house sale, for conceiving my children, because I was diagnosed as infertile, and now I've got 4 very noisy children on the other side of that door. So there have been so many moments. And as you live through it, you don't really identify, oh, this was just a momentous occasion. But thinking back, deciding to go to Greece pretty much on a whim, that was huge. In Greece, I worked a restaurant job and lost the restaurant job. And I remember thinking, if I go to the main square, I'll bet something good would happen. And talking about it now, that's insane. How did something good happen? But I went to the main square. This Australian girl I knew called Leanne walked past, and I was like, Leanne, did you say you were leaving the island? Can I have your babysitting job? And she was like, oh, you can have my babysitting job and my shop job. Come with me, meet the lady. And that was the lady that ended up teaching me tarot. So there have been so many crazy moments. Thanks to the tarot, follow this. Thanks to the tarot, I was interviewed. I was also kind of a spokesperson to the witches in London, because whenever a journalist would want to interview a witch, they kind of push me forward. Look, this one looks kind of inoffensive and, easy to talk to the media. So I did all the newspaper interviews and stuff like that, because I was very non-scary, not really sort of fully a goth, and I could explain things in quite an articulate way. So I had an interview with a pretty posh magazine called the Illustrated London News, Illustrated Evening News. It's some kind of magazine that only really posh people know. I definitely don't know about any of their months except for the one I was in. And the person that interviewed me then gave a reading for me, like a voucher, to his ex-girlfriend, who used to work for a very large magazine, which I won't name because there's only very few people that worked in that magazine. But you definitely know it, international. And she had friends in another magazine, and through that word of mouth, I ended up doing the Stars for Elle. At the Elle Christmas party, I spoke to a girl who was like a lifestyle writer, lifestyle editor, and I thought, wow, that is fortunate, because I do all the stuff that they say in magazines, literally anything. Put honey on your face, I'm there. Be careful, bees, literally anything. And so that lifestyle editor was there, and she said to me, people are starting to meet partners online. And I was like, really? Now that's the only way to meet people? But this is, we're talking 2004. So I was like, really? And she said, you've got to go on this specific website. There were no apps yet, on this specific website. And that's where I met my husband. So,
Wow.
yes. So there have been so many crossroads that if that little thing didn't happen, or if I didn't follow my intuition on like a teeny tiny detail, it would have worked out completely different. Now, my favorite movies, Back to the Future, Sliding Doors. I am so into that idea that you can just get your whole world if you make that one decision, or lose your whole world if you can make that other decision. But because I really believe in miracles, I believe that because I wanted something, all the planets aligned to
Everything
give me that
aligned to get you
something.
there. What an
Yeah.
incredible story. That is so
Thank you.
inspiring. Like the
But
fact
you know,
that
I just
you believe then that every choice that you make dictates and controls and is, you know, the footsteps to your future.
absolutely, again, a good movie, Butterfly Effect. I believe that every action has ripples all the way through. Now, because I'm telling it in kind of an exciting way, then obviously it sounds like a big something. But I think everyone has that story inside them. I think any person will have like a chain of events that had led them to where they are. And if a tiny detail was different, they'd have ended up somewhere else. So I think it sounds special, but it's not. I really think that that's the human experience. And in a way, I feel that that's kind of what the tarot embodies. For me, the tarot is a fabulous tool that helps you choose between the path that will lead you to where you want to go and the path that will lead you to a certain death, or, you know, sometimes worse. And that's why I feel like the tarot encapsulates all of the human experience, because it has not 78 cards, but thousands and thousands of different combinations of how things can turn out.
That is incredible. You've got me. You know what? I think people will be thinking now, like, every action, every gesture, everything that you do does control your future. And I totally believe that as well. I believe every action that you do, every step that you make does, you know, it is planning your future, whether it's steps ahead, years ahead, it is all manifesting in. Cheers to that, my darling. Cheers.
Cheers. Such an amazing message.
Absolutely.
And I see that in the way that you conduct yourself as well, because you can just as easily not champion a cause that is not directly linked to you, but no, you raise your voice, you use your platform, and you champion a cause, whether it's yours or whether it's not, and that causes ripples and ripples of consequences, of outcomes, so that you don't even know who you inspire and what you save them from.
And you don't know who you're going to meet as well every day. That is incredible. Inbaal, I want to go straight into it. So you are a very, very positive lady and a person, and I love that and I respect that, and you're very inspirational to me and to a lot of people out there. So let's go for it now. So do you know when you wake up in the morning, and let's be honest, because we all feel like that at some point in our lives, sometimes a couple of times a week, let's be honest. When you wake up in the morning and you feel a bit rubbish and you feel a bit crap and your mood's low, because we're only human, we're not made of rock, are we? How do you shift?
No, and in the morning you've got no carbs in you, you've got no caffeine in you, nothing to keep you afloat.
How do you shift that negative energy and that negative feeling?
Morning affirmation: everything that I want is already mine, everything that I need is already mine. That is my affirmation for this year. I've got like different tiers of affirmations. So my all day kind of morning and all the time affirmation this year is everything that I want is already mine, everything that I need is already mine. That sets the intention that if I get out of bed and put one foot in front of the other and wash my face, all I have to do is walk face first into the stuff that is already mine. The first year of lockdown, when I think it was very difficult to find positivity, and everything everybody did was annoying, because let's say with the masks and no masks, and with the people that believed in it and with the people that didn't believe in it, and with the people that would go out to exercise once a day and with the people that would go out to exercise more times a day. I took my children on their walk, and there was like a horde of people going, whose child is that? Whose child is that? Literally, I'm the only mum on the path. He's definitely, I know there's a lot of them, but they're all mine. And everything everybody did was annoying. And somebody I follow online, her grandma, who's like in her 90s, said something like, everyone's doing their best. And that was my affirmation for that entire year. Not everyone. I changed it to, we're all doing our best.
Yes.
Because it's easy to leave yourself
Yeah.
out of the affirmation. We're all doing our best. We're all doing our best. And that was super, super helpful then. So I'd get out of bed in the morning. We're all doing our best. And then for 2021, sorry, I'm such a dork. For 2021, the whole day affirmation was, let me get it really right, what it was a whole year I was saying it. There's plenty of time. There's plenty of time. Why? Because my readings had become very, very busy by then. And I was doing a lot of magazine work, like, body language stuff. And I was coaching 3 people, like teaching tarot. It was a lot. And I was still, a couple of them were homeschooled because only a few of the years went back to school. Anyway, when you're thinking, I have so much to do, there's not enough time. And then that thought overwhelms you.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, this is it. It's 4 a.m. and I'm waking up in 2.5 hours. So by using that affirmation, there is plenty of time. Let's say I'd sit to do my emails at 1 a.m. Not ideal, but fine.
But
if I said,
very real.
Yeah, it's real. That's it. Sometimes you've got to, and we do live in a 24-hour society, and a lot of my clients are in America where, it's 1 a.m. over here. It's only like 3 p.m. in California. So I would sit, and if my brain said to me, this is it, you're here till the morning, everything would go slow. Everything would go slow. And the panic, that quiet scream, the panic would just blind everything. But if I'd sit at 1 a.m. and go, there's plenty of time, then without the panic, I'd finish my emails in 45 minutes, go and watch a bit of comedy in bed because I absolutely need that. I'm a huge comedy fan, and that's my way to unwind.
I love that. I love the fact that it's just all this simplicity. The fact that you do all this amazing work that you do, and then you just like to chill and zen with a comedy. Cheers to that, my darling. That's very, very
cheers
special.
To that, and so cheers to comedy and all the funny guys and girls. But it sounds simple because that's like the final outcome. It obviously took a lot of meditation, a lot of readings, a lot of looking within to see what is it that's really blocking me. And I came to realize that I just believed that there was not enough time. That's not true. There's people that discovered America. There's people that are solving different types of cancer. If they have enough time, I think I should be able to manage.
So that, please, that is
exactly, we can fit it all in.
We can do it all, can't we? We can do it all.
All of it.
Do it all. So you've been on TV quite a few times. You've been on a lot of TV shows throughout the years. How did the TV opportunities come about? Because I love that.
Absolutely, by chance, each and every one of them. Now, you'd look at my CV and you'd think, wow, what a go-getter. She really goes after what she wants to know. My superpower is that when opportunity knocks, I don't say no. And I think for a lot of people, that's it. I think for a lot of people, the panic would set in, or the diminishing thoughts. So the first time I did something really big, I was the eviction prediction psychic on Big Brother's Little Brother. I've done, I know, it's so crazy.
I used to love Big Brother. That's so exciting. How did
wasn't
that
it
come out?
amazing in the first few years when it was like a social experiment, and they'd have lots of challenges where no one had to get naked. It was amazing.
The
So
golden years. You were on it in the golden years.
exactly, the golden years. So I'd done some TV before, so I knew that if TV producers came to me and said, have you done anything before, I could confidently say, yes, I have. It was all right. But it was a big thing that I did. And that came about literally because I lived in West London. Again, that was before Yellow Pages online or finding people online. So the area that Endemol offices, big producers of Big Brother, the area that Endemol offices resided in West London was very near to me. So when they took their local Yellow Pages out and looked for psychics, it was just me. So they rang me. They rang me and they were like, do you want to come down for an audition? And I did. And of course, that was very fortuitous. I didn't go after it, but you can believe me that when I went for that audition, I was getting it.
Yes. Yes, that's what I love to
I
hear.
was not leaving without an offer.
It was yours,
and
baby.
that's it. It was mine. Everything that I need is already mine. Everything that I want is already mine. And you know what the miracle is? That it's not just mine. It's everyone that wants it.
Yes.
And I do something that I think now coaches have really cottoned onto it, and I over deliver. So I'll go into that interview room and I'll be like, do you want to do it a different way as well, or do you want me to send you some photos ahead of time, or do you want me to do star charts for like the different people to see how fun it is? I brought an extra deck of cards in my bag so we see what they look like. And I think when you come up with ideas, people enjoy the creativity, they enjoy the process, and also they have an easier time of already visualizing you as a part of the project, because you're walking in there like you're already a part of the project. But the opportunities that came to me came by fortuitous chance. So Big Brother came to me like that. Elle magazine came like that. And then how did it even happen? I tell you how. So I did a show called Housebusters, which was doing spiritual makeovers. So spiritual. It was so awesome. I can't believe it only had 2 seasons, and I think it really is a time to resurrect it. It was so fun. It was presented by Janet Ellis, who is, such a legend. And when I was called to go and try out for it, again, I was called because a friend of a friend knew people who worked for that production company. So the premise was that 3 people with kind of a spiritual background go into a house. Each of them says what they feel is like spiritually the problem with the house, and then the house owners pick one person to do them like literally a makeover. So it was such a good concept. It's on my YouTube.
It's on the YouTube.
And so yeah, you can link below. So that show was just about to finish, and it was coming up to my 30th birthday, like exactly my 30th birthday. Yeah, because they brought me a cake on the production shoot. That was so adorable.
So
and in it TV people are such good people. And I had again like a phone call from the Yellow Pages when I came back from the shoot on my landline that said, we're casting. That's so crazy. We're casting for a new show, and just give me a call back. And I rang the lady back. She didn't pick up.
How did you feel in that moment when you come back and you had this call? Was you like,
I was like, of course. You didn't worry about missed calls at the time because mobiles were very new. Not everyone even had mobiles. When I was 30, so it would be in 2004, there were mobiles, but they were enormous. And they didn't really work
back in the day. Do you remember that?
That's it. Yeah, based on a true story.
That is amazing.
They didn't really work a lot of places, and you couldn't really hear them. You'd be like, oh, sorry, let me ring you back on the landline so I can actually hear your words. And she didn't ring me back. And for about 2 weeks, I kept ringing her. In the end, I got her. She gave me an email address for the producer, and I was the first phone psychic on the Psychic Interactive channel, which is still running 15 years later, more than 15 years. 17 years later is running. So I was the first one there, but it was kind of the same story. So the producer said, shall we just meet up for coffee and you can do me a little reading? Boy, I smashed that read. I was putting all of myself into that reading. Let's find out everything about you. And I stayed.
Like your life story, where you've said about manifestation, and the minute you walk into a room, it's like me as an actor, or a presenter. You walk into the room and you've got to think like, this is right. Like, I want this. I'm gonna have this. This is right for the universe. Inbaal, you've had a lot of trauma in your life and a lot of bad times and a lot of. So, do you believe that your faith and your spirituality has got you through all the crap and all the rubbish?
I do, because I will say that when, for example, I have 4 children, but I also lost 4 fetuses, and that is awful. There's really, you can't overstress how terrible it is that you make an attachment for a little baby that you're growing in your tummy, and then it's not there anymore. And the first one was like,
thank you very much for sharing that, and I'm so
sorry. Thank you for asking about the trauma, because I think by sharing our trauma, other people feel a little less alone. And with stuff like miscarriages, people don't talk about it. Like, even within like storylines and so on, it never really used to be included. I remember when Ugly Betty did a miscarriage storyline, and I was crying because I'd never seen one before. I'd never seen a storyline like this before. And the first one was horrific, but I then went to one of my tarot students gave me a reading. And she said to me, it's amazing. She said to me, listen, you're busy all the time. Of course, the baby doesn't want to come. She's very straight talking. She said, I can see the baby. I can see her in my vision. And she is peeking at you behind all your clients. And she's saying, when is my turn? Because you're giving yourself to this client, and that client. And she's telling me that, and I'm crying. We're like a phone reading. We're crying. And what I didn't know is that I was already pregnant when we were talking with my daughter. But the moment she said that, I was like, no, she's right. I've got to work a little bit less and shuffle up my priorities. So in that respect, absolutely, my spirituality and my faith has got me through some dark times, but also some props have to be given to exercise, which is an amazing antidepressant. And to comedy. When my mum was very, very poorly before she passed, I was pregnant with my 3rd, and every day I would go for an hour's brisk walk with comedy songs in my ears, and that was a way for me to stay uplifted. So I was doing my affirmations. I was very, very involved in everybody's readings in a way that really uplifts me, because dealing with other people's lives and showing them how things will always end up fine is so empowering. Because if you look at your life, everybody's lives, we all pull through because people are amazing. So cheers to that, because my work really, really empowers me, and I feel so lucky to be able to do it. So between spirituality, exercise, and comedy, I think they're like the spiritual things that keep me afloat.
I read about you quite a while ago, quite at the start of this year, and you've lost 9 stone.
Yes,
I can totally relate, because I've lost 8 stone. So congratulations on your weight loss.
Thank you, and congratulations for you. I feel like I worked so hard, and in the end, I look like a mom of 4 should look, and you worked so hard, and you look like a radiant supermodel. And every time I feel like a modeling thing, I think maybe if I worked a little harder.
You are beautiful, incredible, and amazing as you are. You don't need to change.
Thank you.
And I mean that from my core. You're even on
Thank
the
you.
camera now, you're glowing. So whatever you're doing,
Oh,
maybe it's working.
thank,
So cheers to that.
thank you so much.
You're so
But
welcome.
yeah, I think
Tell me about
it's
the weight loss and like
it's
what
I
got
think
you to
it's a
decide it
weird
was.
story because so many people can really only understand their own experience because each person's relationship to weight and to food and to
Yes.
activity and to sweeties and to drinking is so deeply individual. But for me, I had very young parents, very glamorous, beautiful young parents. And so in comparison with them, I remember even as a 3-year-old feeling kind of podgy. Now, I know what
Wow.
3-year-olds are like. And
Wow.
of course they are, but there was a weird kind of vibe going on. I believe that my mother may have suffered with a disorder, but because she was a fashion student and then like an arts and crafts teacher, in that environment, it kind of disappears. And I do suffer myself with kind of disordered eating and not super healthy attitudes around food. So I would lose a lot and gain back a lot, and then lose even more and gain back
So
a
you
lot
were
more.
yo-yo dieting on your mental health.
Like massively. So yo-yo dieting, mental health, I think they're kind of linked together.
Yeah.
And there was also an element of radical self-acceptance in it,
Okay.
because especially within the spiritual community, which I think would have been the first community to accept people exactly as they were. And almost all the girls around me were big girls. We were psychics, we were witches, we had big velvet cloaks, and who cares what size your cloak is? Everyone was wearing purple. There was a lot of laughter and a lot of red
Yeah.
wine going on. So within that life, it was great. And then I couldn't get pregnant. I really wanted to get pregnant and I couldn't
Okay.
get pregnant. And the doctor said to me, it would be much easier if you lost weight. And I was furious.
Wow.
How dare you? How
Wow.
dare you question what I look like? And they were like, oh, it's not what you look like. It's just that you're not ovulating. And there is something that is in when your body fat is high, it um what's soluble, what's the word for it,
I know
it
what you mean.
dissolves,
Involved
it
in that
dissolves.
moment when you were told,
Yeah,
when
it
you always wanted to be a mother, and I know that because we spoke about it. You know when the
yeah,
doctor told you that when you were in that room in that day, sitting on that chair or on that bed, how did you
exactly.
feel when you heard them
I
words?
I I was enraged. I was enraged. I was like, how
Yeah.
dare you? Fat people have babies all day long. The fattest girls in my school had babies when they were still at school. What are you talking about? But wow, I totally forgot about this. I was in the shop, and I love autobiographies, and Dawn French's autobiography had just come out, and I read a page. I can't believe that memory. I read a page where she said, I lost a lot of weight for my wedding and it was awful and I looked great, but that was the last diet I ever had.
Yeah.
And Dawn French had had a very well documented battle to try and get pregnant, which never really worked for her. Her child is her child by adoption. And I thought, wow, that must be a sign. I love Dawn French. Love her. I think she is amazing.
Yeah.
Because I'm such a comedy fan, I'm so inspired by her. I saw her live once. She's even
Wow.
better live. Yeah, in the Hammersmith, the Hammersmith Apollo, in the big Hammersmith thing. So I went home and didn't tell anybody, but I started being a little bit more careful. And then I joined my local gym, but it didn't really work out. What was weird is that I got a phone call from one of the coaches in the gym who will not be named, because he was poaching clients. He said, you haven't been in the gym in about 6 weeks. And I was like, yeah, it doesn't really work out. And he was like, I'm doing personal training. Do you want me to train you at home? And I was like, wow, what a weird coincidence. Yes. Yes, I do want you to train me at home. So he sent me like 2 text messages that listed what I can eat. He got me to write down what I was eating, and it turned out that I was having 4 whole meals a day, like 4 actual meals. He was like, did you ever realize that you were having 4 meals? I was like, no, I had no idea. Because I was eating, I'm vegetarian, and I'm a big fan of vegetables, which everyone like from the Mediterranean is. So I thought I was healthy, but I was twice the size I should have been, because I was eating literally twice what I should have been. I was hardly drinking. I wasn't really having a lot of sweeties, but I was a big eater. And that's something that's kind of, I think, connected with the trauma of the baby loss, because you're kind of filling your tummy with an alternative. And that was my first.
Isn't it? Like, I can relate to that as well. Like, I was battling, and I've spoke very openly in the press and everything that I've done about battling depression, battling anxiety, something to fill that void. And as you say, with your loss and your trauma, which thank you so much for sharing, because I know it's going to inspire people out there, so thank you. But I can exactly relate to what you're thinking. Mine was sugary drinks, but now there was the day came for me, a bit like what happened to you. Like, I was in the corner shop and I grabbed a sugar-free version of what was my favorite drink, and it was that moment. Like, I went out the shop that day and I was like, just do it. You know, it become robustly to me, but something happened to me in that shop, and I believe that's why I'm doing what I'm doing today and where I am today on this journey, on this path, on this lifestyle. So I can totally relate to you, and I think your message onto the world for going out there is believe that everything does happen for a reason. Every choice, every thought is going to be your reality, and I am so inspired by
it. It is, because when you are ready, the teacher will come. So when I made that decision to just be a little bit more careful, and suddenly had that phone call, is it a coincidence? Is it synchronicity? Wow. Who cares? It works. And then I lost maybe 3 stone. I was, remember, like over 9 stone overweight. I was literally twice the size I should have been. So I lost about 3 stone, got pregnant, didn't gain anything in the pregnancy, which means after giving birth, I was that little bit less. And breastfeeding is not easy. Girls, listen, no one says it's easy. So breastfeeding was not easy. And when you're breastfeeding, you are hungry. It's much worse than pregnancy hunger. And then I met, we'd moved to Yorkshire by then, and I met a personal trainer here. Again, total coincidence. I was not even on Mumsnet, but I found his details on Mumsnet, which he did not put. His sister put his details on Mumsnet, but I found him and he trained me, and he got me to keep a food diary. And he said, you know, you have to count calories just to see what you're eating. And that was a big crunch for me, because I'm not very tall. And by then I wasn't really very, very overweight. And so when you get to like the smaller sizes, there's really a difference between like 1 biscuit and 3 biscuits. And when you understand the maths of it, for me, that was a real moment. And I've been counting. Wow. I started on the MyFitnessPal app when my second child was 3 months old, because I used to count calories with pen and paper. Wow. And then my mum was coming, and I didn't want her to see that I was counting calories, because then she gets to win. You know, and that's not acceptable. So I started doing it on my phone, and so that's when he was 3 months old, and he just had his 10th birthday. Wow. So I've been on the app for 10 years, and I know that a lot of fitness influencers teach you intuitive eating. how you don't need to count and how you could have freedom from counting. But personally, for me, I think it's really not for everybody, but personally, for me, being able to count gives me the freedom to know that it's all right to treat myself. Because look, even if I've gone over by, say,
Yeah.
1,000, and that's a lot, even if I've gone over by 1,000,
Yeah.
and I can promise you I've got days where I go over by a lot more than 1,000.
Me too.
That's it. That's all it. Yeah, that's it. That's all it is. It's 1,000. I go on 2 runs. That is gone anyway. And over the space of a year, that 1,000 won't matter at all.
Dissolves,
So
doesn't
I
it?
was a
Dissolves.
yeah, yeah. It all balances out because our bodies are incredible. But for me, counting was really the crunch, because when you're counting, you can manage with or without exercise. When you're counting, you can manage with or without drinking. You don't have to eat clean all the time, and I certainly do not. And you don't have to subscribe to any specific method. Because after I had the last 3 children, no, the last 2 children, I did, instead of counting, because I was still breastfeeding and the children were small, I thought it would make more sense to do gluten-free vegan. So it just gets rid of your breads, gets rid of your breakfast cereals. And I only did gluten-free vegan for a few weeks, 3 separate times. And it does fall off you.
Yeah.
But when you're eating out, the only thing you can have is like a jack potato with baked beans,
Yes.
which is wonderful, but not all the time.
Not every day. Do you know what,
Yeah.
Inbaal? I just want to say thank you so incredibly much for being on Drinks with MJ. You are, I don't even, inspiring is amazing, but you are just, your story and who you are as a person, as a female, as a woman, as a human, you are so inspiring. Thank you so much from the bottom of the core of my soul for being on Drinks with MJ. I am so thrilled to have you on. I've been excited all day. Like, I've been excited. I've had my vodka and me everything just ready all day on my gin. Thank you so much for being on Drinks with MJ.
Thank you so much, MJ. I'm so thrilled to have been able to do this. I'm so excited to be part of your brand and associated with your show.
Thank you. I'm like fanning to have you on. I'm like, Inbaal's coming, yes. Thank you so much. And my glass is empty, so it's time to refill.
Yeah, I'm getting this.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being on Drinks with MJ.
Thank you, my love.
And showing people that there is positivity in the future. Mwah! Lots of love.
There always
a
is.
refill? Yes.
Well, I've got my tea.
Yeah, I'll refill. Mwah! Thank you so much.
Thank you.